Continue with our Theology of the Body Mondays. And today I like to explore this concept that St. John Paul II explores called the personalistic norm. The personalistic norm. So a person is a kind of object, it's a thing, right? But a person is different than other objects. Like if you think of, the object of a rock versus the object of a person, they're very different kinds of objects. And even if you contrast two living objects, like let's say a dog and a person, there's a stark difference between these two living objects. There's something that's very unique to the object of a person. Person has a certain interiority to what a person is that is very unique. There's a certain inner life within a person. There's like an I, like a me. When I speak, there's like a someone who's speaking, and when I speak to another person, there's again another I, a you, that receives what I say. The word in itself, person, we use it in such a way that we make reference to this deepness of that a person, there's something unique to what a person is. Like maybe somebody treats you roughly, or they don't consider you, and then you can say something like, hey, like I'm a person too, there's this sense of like I'm someone, I'm not just something. And I think even I don't know, the difference of looking into the eyes of an animal like a dog and looking into the eyes of a person, like it's just not the same. There's like someone who gazes back at you when you're looking at a person that just doesn't happen. I don't know if there's an animal that could somewhat mimic this, but I haven't seen it, right? And this, of course, is related to the fact that we're made in the image and likeness of God, and there's something different, again, about a person. Now, because a person is indeed different, and there's this interiority, and there's just something qualitatively different of being spiritual beings that we are, a person cannot be treated in the same way as other kinds of objects. Like, should a person be treated in the same way that a rock is treated? No, it should not. There's something different to a person that demands a different kind of behavior. And one of the things that St. John Paul II talks about regarding this difference is that a person should never be used merely as a means to an end. Because of what a person is, it is below the dignity of a person to be treated merely as a means to an end. And let me quote here from John Paul II. Anyone who treats a person merely as a means to an end does violence to the very essence of the other, right? Treating a person as a means to an end does violence to the essence of what a person is, who a person is. And we experience this in our very flesh, right? If you've ever felt like you've been being used by somebody to get something, right? You were just like a piece in their plan, whatever, to get close to somebody else, to get money, to whatever it is, it's not a very fun experience. And we hear people say this, oh, like he was just using me, or she was just using me, or my company was just using me to be able to get X and Y. They didn't really care about me and my family at all. Well, this reality that a person should never be used or merely be used as a means to an end is what John Paul II calls the personalistic norm. It's a norm that arises from the fact that persons are indeed persons. They're not just any kind of object. And so there's this norm that arises that a certain demand of a behavior towards a person. A person cannot be used, and of course, instead, they should be loved. And it's interesting that John Paul II kind of contrasts using and loving more than, like, let's say, loving and hating, right? He almost as if he were to say the opposite of love is actually use, not so much hate. Anyway, he probably would agree with both. But anyway, so this personalistic norm, which we'll explore later, we'll come back to it, has ramifications in the interactions of persons, and therefore it also has ramifications in the sexual sphere, right? We'll explore this more later on, but just briefly, right? The personalistic norm still applies in a sexual relationship, right? So in a sexual relationship, one cannot forget that one is interacting with a someone, with a person, and therefore one cannot simply use a person as a means to an end, right? I can't just use a person to feel pleasure, or I can't just use a person to feel secure. I can't just use a person just to feel loved, because a person can't just be a means to an end. I have to acknowledge their dignity. I can't just use him only for my own purposes, right? So we'll continue to explore how this personalistic norm continues to affect kind of theology of the body and that kind of thing.